Call to order. Can you roll call, please?
Mayor Gerardo Sanchez,
Present.
Vice Mayor Africa Luna Carrasco, Councilmember Mario Buchanan Jr.,
Present.
Councilmember Luis Cabrera, Councilmember Jose Ponce,
Present.
Councilmember Matias Rosales,
Present.
Councilmember Gloria Torres. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and go with the first item, item number 2A, discussion and possible direction of staff and all matters regarding Yuma County Airport Authority request for Yuma County to terminate the lease with the Bureau of Reclamation for Raleigh Airfield. Jenny?
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of the council. At the last council meeting, you asked us to bring this item up for discussion at a work session. Gladys Brown is here and can present the same presentation she made last time, or we can go ahead and proceed with questions and answers. You had directed me to do a little bit more research, and I will go ahead and present some of my results, and then I'm going to have Gladys come up and speak.
Thank you.
So from what I researched is back in 2009, and Gladys, you might correct me if I'm wrong, but this is all the research that I found on my end, is that the previous executive director under the Yuma Airport Master Plan, there was some language there that Roll Airfield could become a reliever in the future. I did not see that in this current master plan. And again, Gladys can correct me. But at the time, I think the executive director made some statements in the news and the media about, having Roll Airfield become as a reliever, that they wanted to expand Roll Airfield, and that they wanted to secure federal aviation funds. And that's when the process started to really try to get Yuma County to terminate the lease and for the airport authority to take it over. From the different documentations that I have seen, I think Gladys is following the same procedure, trying to move forward with that. If there has something changed in their intent for the Roll Airfield, I think she can discuss that. But at this time, that's the information that I received, that I researched. You also directed me to try to see if we could get a feasibility study done. I did get a proposal. What the feasibility study would do, it would do an inventory of existing conditions, forecast of aviation demand, define future development plan, market rate survey, option of potential revenues, option of probable cost, opinion of probable annual maintenance and operations. This type of feasibility would cost about $99,000. I'm sure it'll take a while to actually get done. From my perspective, the way I see it, I also reviewed the BOR draft lease that they have, that the airport's been working with the Bureau of Reclamation. It's a pretty standard lease. The state is for the focus of aviation. The city obviously doesn't have any knowledge or experience in operating an airport, but that doesn't mean we can't contract anybody to do it. I know we talked about partnership. I think right now I do sit on the airport board, and I do have, the ability to ask questions and be able to provide my input on Roll Airfield. We understand that Roll Airfield is an asset to the community, but it's also an asset to the entire county. And in terms of partnerships, I think that, the airport has opened up its doors. It has opened up its communication of really trying to work with us. And I think Gladys is going to speak a little bit more about any development that would happen. It would have to come through the city. Now, the city has options, I guess, to some extent. If right now they're asking us support, for a letter of support to show Yuma County that we're okay with them terminating their BOR lease and having the airport authority take it over. I don't know if there's an interest of the city taking it over ourselves. We have already mentioned that we don't have the knowledge or experience or even the financing possibly to do it. If we had the financing, I'm sure that we could do wonders with that. But I don't know if there's even an option of us taking over the lease and the airport operating. I'm sure there's issues there, but I apologize. I don't have enough knowledge and experience in the aviation industry to be able to give you a more a recommendation or to be able to give you more expertise on it. When we talked to the consultant, you know, we said, can you give us a one-page letter giving us a little rundown of what it would, he's like, Jenny, I got to do the study to be able to really see, you know, what the potential is. So that's where we stand. Again, Gladys and I had the conversation. She can correct me if I'm wrong in any of my research. The only thing I found was what I was able to obtain online. But, you know, she is here to discuss that, and you guys can ask her whatever questions you might have, and she'll be able to address them. Okay?
Thank you.
Gladys?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I appreciate the opportunity to kind of review and answer any questions that you may have. I think there's a couple of things for clarification just in process. So first, let's talk about owner, agent, sponsor wise. So the authority itself does not own any land today. We actually lease land from Yuma County. And in that lease agreement, we act as the sole sponsor to the Federal Aviation Administration as well as to the Arizona Department of Transportation. With that, we become eligible because we're the sponsor as the acting agent over all of the property through that lease agreement. And that's kind of what we're looking at with the Bureau of Reclamation, the same type of arrangement. The current arrangement today does not really actually make us eligible for the grants as we researched the new staff when we came in, when I took the position about 7 years ago. Again, when we went over it with the Department of Transportation, they understood the circumstances, and I was able to go ahead and say, look, at this time, we're not eligible for any grants until we can go ahead and clarify who's the actual sponsor. So that it's the person holding the lease assignment, and today that lease assignment is held by Yuma County. With that, again, the way we can rectify it is as long as we can work with the Bureau of Reclamation. They said they can release Yuma County, but during that discussion with the Board of Supervisors, Chairman Reyes said, first we need to make sure that the city of San Luis understands and sees if it's something they'd like to do as well. Without a doubt, you can become the person in charge of that lease assignment, and then be able to work on behalf of the city and actually run that airport. Things and transitions of that sort's not difficult. We have a couple of grant assurances that need to be fulfilled, so we have to prorate that and pay back both the Department of Transportation as well as the ACA for our grant agreements that we have currently in place, and those have 20-year commitments. So that's kind of the way assignments work. When you have a sponsor that doesn't own the property, you know, we work as an agent, and then we're able to accept those grants on behalf. Today, Raleigh Airfield, I'll tell you, brings about $12,000 in revenue, if that. I can kind of say it that way. Sometimes it depends on who the user base is. Today, we have Skydive San Luis, and their lease rate is very, very, very well positioned so they can be successful as a startup company. They are short term, but today, they actually asked us to look at a long-term arrangement. And again, we would, and I mean, this is news to Jenny too, because she haven't seen her, but before I walked out of the office, that was actually the correspondence we received. And from that, we would work with your city planner and with Jenny and your engineers to say, what does that look like into the future for them? It doesn't require any new development, so we know that we don't need a plan on that part, but we have to look at traffic in the air and what does that mean to aviation. And so that's something we'll also discuss. And moving forward, what was the plan? So Raleigh Airfield is a GA reliever in rural airports today. It actually gets funding up to $100,000 eligibility with the Department of Transportation, but it's for project specifics that qualify either under the Airport Pavement Master Plan System or Pavement Maintenance Systems, APMS, or for small projects in which qualify. It has no home-based aircraft today, so it is not eligible to be inside of the FAA's entitlement program, as it has no registered aircraft there. Once it does, then we can look at becoming registered in the national programming, and again, it has to have home-based aircraft with tail numbers. So Skydive San Luis will allow that if they turn into a long-term lease, and from there, we'll work that process on the federal side. To operate the airfield itself, I would tell you it's about a loss ledger, about $80,000 because of the emergency diesel generator, the different systems that we have employed there that we have to maintain regularly on an annual basis. So those are the two costs that you look at, is what does it cost to run it, and then also what's the return on investments that we have. The tenant previously that was a drone operator was there for 5 years. They were supposed to have a long-term commitment. They actually relinquished their lease because of their contract. that they had with the government, and they actually left that lease assignment early, and we were able to terminate that through a negotiated settlement, which was very, very little compared to what it would have been in the long term. Today, we do have an on-site caretaker or groundskeeper that maintains the security of the airfield and also ensures that we have someone there during hours in which are a little bit not typical, and it also helps with those off-roaders that are there on the weekends and the evenings, kind of enjoying the nice weather. And we've had issues in the past with that, but a lot of it is just them encroaching on the property and hitting the gates or the fencing, so. The lease itself, just so everybody knows, we did establish it in the 1970s, and from there has become, the idea was it was supposed to be used for agriculture and also for kind of more of the tail draggers and the banner pullers to kind of get them away from the main airport. But the reality for us is that we look at it as an airport in which can be convenient for your commerce, for those who are on smaller aircraft, and then for future convenience. The size of the aircraft that can fly on it today is the 12.5 and under, which is a design group 1. That's your smaller aircraft, usually about 6-seaters, or your smaller caravans with light loads. So today, it is asphalt paved. It wasn't always paved that way. We were able to make those significant improvements over the last decade. For us, procedure-wise, we run that airport just like we run the airport in the city of Yuma. We would work with all of your key staff members, your planning, your zoning, your development, your engineering, and we'd ensure that we follow all the procedures that the city requires before we make any major developments to see if it actually is complementary to your master plan or general plan, and also that it's not an encroachment or it will hinder any development within that area.